Hi, Kat. Welcome to Artist Spotlight 2020 with the Millstream Arts Festival in collaboration with the Art Crawl for downtown St. Cloud for this round of our virtual art show. You're with the Downtown Art Crawl, and I've had the pleasure of getting to know some new artists and some new work through this. So this has been quite a pleasure for me. So I'd
Oh, fun.
love for you to share about you and what you do.
Well, Kat Patton. I live in the heart of St. Cloud. I've been involved in the arts since I was a kid, actually. I've always wanted to be an artist. That's, kind of what, I don't know. What else I looked up to my older sister who is an artist, and that kind of inspired me to go on with my own. When I decided to actually go to university or go to college, I decided that that was going to be art. So I studied for fine arts degrees in photography, drawing, and design, actually, a little commercial design as well. So I've kind of been practicing art for as old as I am, and we're not going to mention how old that is.
Well, when you've been interested in it since you've been much younger, it's a long time to be an artist, no matter what age you are, I think,
That's
you know,
true. Um,
absolutely.
yeah, my emphasis is obviously on two-dimensional work. I'm not particularly fond of sculpture. Well, I'm fond of it. I just don't do it well. So my emphasis obviously is photography, which is what I studied, and then drawing, and those areas are colored pencil and graphite. Those are my main areas of work as far as current work goes. Recently, I've started moving into a more digital format where I incorporate bits and pieces of everything and put it in a digital way. So,
Yeah, wonderful. Well, we'll be looking at some of those pieces soon and sharing them. And I have a quick question before we get started on looking at your work. So, and I know you work with artists also and help with their art, and you've seen a lot of different artists. So, in a world where artists are trying to stand out and be noticed, what is one thing you would like people to know about your art before we get started?
I'm colorful. I think that's a very, very simple way of putting it. I do. I'm very fond of children's book illustrations and fantasy art, and I think that kind of shows through in my work as well. So I would call myself a fantasy illustrator. I'm not quite the fantasy artist. I don't fall into that, I'm not quite an illustrator. So, um,
Uh-huh.
but I think colorful is a good standout way of putting it.
I would definitely agree. I would definitely agree. When we were looking at your work, I definitely noticed that color and how that really stood out. So one more thing before we get started. So during this time, during this pandemic and thing that has changed artists in a lot of ways. It's changed maybe
Mhm.
their practice, maybe their outlook on life or their work. How has it changed you, or how has it changed your practice?
I honestly don't think it has really changed a whole lot for me.
Uh-huh.
I work in colored pencil, so it typically takes a long time to do, especially if I'm working on a big piece because it's a very fine, well, the size of a pencil. So it's kind of
Mhm.
a very tiny piece. And if you're working in a big area, it takes a long period of time to finish up. So I honestly have to say, I don't know that. I think I've spent more time with the digital side of things because I'm a little more unfocused these days. I think everyone is. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's probably the only way it's really changed. But as far as my sitting down and working, it hasn't really changed much at all.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see some of your work. Let's look at that here. And our first piece is a collection of pieces. I'll let you
Yeah,
start talking about those.
I kind of wanted to show you an example, the example of where my work where I work in. On the top left is one I called, that was a commission piece. It's called Grandma's Hands. And that's graphite. The next to it is a colored pencil. The birds, the winter birds, is a colored pencil piece. The photograph is obviously a black and white photograph, and that's what my emphasis was in college, actually. And then the last piece on in the corner, the witch's dance, is that's a combination of digital and taken from a drawing that I had actually started on.
Oh, okay. And I know in our few of our pictures here, you have a few of those pieces to show us where it's the drawing
Hmm.
and the digital. I know the
Hmm.
second piece that we have is what's behind you on the wall right now, I can see.
Oh yes, my favorite. It is one of my favorite pieces. It's huge.
Eh,
It's called My Tiger for a reason because I actually made this piece. I commissioned myself for it. I made this piece specifically for the wall behind me.
Oh,
It's my guardian. He's my guardian. He guards our house, and so he's not a ferocious tiger. He's just a very alert tiger. Let's put it that way. But he's, like I said, this is a piece that actually took me almost a year to finish
wow.
because it's so huge. And if you look, you can see there's little hairs and everything in it. So, you try to do that. And it's working only in pencil. The actual size of this is 32 inches by 40 inches. So it's about 2.5 feet by 3 feet
Wow.
in color pencil.
Yeah, a lot of time. A lot of
Yeah.
time with something
Yeah.
like that.
And I'll
And
admit
the
there was a point in there where I thought it was becoming a little tedious. It's like, oh, I'm just so tired of doing these little lines, but I think it paid off in the end.
and the layering of color with colored pastel you can do so it's not just one line, it's a line on top of a line next to a
Exactly.
line. Yeah.
Exactly.
So it
And then
takes
going back in and going, there's, yeah, exactly. Lines over lines over lines. So
uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, it's beautiful.
thank you.
He does not look ferocious. He looks very much like he is guarding,
Yep. That's
watching
exactly
over.
it.
So our next piece is a collection of pieces again.
Yeah, again, this is just a sampling of several pieces of my colored pencil work, and these are all colored pencil. Um,
Mhm.
as far as where I get ideas from, they just kind of pop up. It's really funny. The one on the left, A Boy and His Shark, is
Mhm.
some of you may know about an old movie. It was called A Boy and His Dog. It's an old science fiction movie, and I love that movie. And so a lot of times I title my works very tongue in cheek, just like the zebra one, the zebra piece at the bottom there. I kept
Mm.
calling it as I was working on it zebra piece. And it was at the time there was a lot of political drama going on, as is now, but this was several years ago. And I just kept saying, "Oh, I'm so tired of this dynamic. I'm so tired of this going on." And so I decided I'm just going to do something, that let's all get together. Let's be friends. And so as you can see, it's a red zebra and a blue zebra. And
Ah.
so as I said, as I was working on it, I would say, "Oh yeah, I'm working on the zebra piece." And then I realized what I was doing. It's like I'm working on zebra piece. I'm working on
Mm.
peace. So that's where the title came out on that one.
Mhm. And I heard you mention earlier you do commission pieces.
I
Can
do.
people contact you at the link we have available, Kat Patton Art
Absolutely.
dot Weebly? Okay. Okay.
Absolutely.
And
Well,
and these
actually, they from the website they can contact me through my email address.
okay. Okay. And that's available on the website where people
That's
can reach
available on
out
the
and
website. Absolutely.
get commissions done. Wonderful. All right, let's look at another piece.
And again, this is an assortment of different pieces that I've done. A couple of them, these are commissions or were gifts. The one at the top with the turtles, the two turtles swimming, that was a gift to some friends of mine who they love turtles.
Hmm.
And then as I said, I love children's books. I love children's illustrations, and so Little Red Riding Hood came out because of that. Because because there was an exhibit several years ago where uh, the whole premise of the exhibit was to do children's fairy tale or a story from a fairy tale. And so this is what came out for myself was, Little Red Riding Hood. And, I wanted to make sure that the wolf looked properly nasty, if you will, and a little fear in Red Riding Hood's eyes too. So
The color, I see it. I see lots of color in
yeah,
here, which you
and
shared.
what's really funny is my emphasis in college was actually black and white photography,
Ah,
and so to come out of that and as I said, I've always loved doing pencil work. I've always loved working in graphite. But when I got out of college, I spent some time as a professional photographer. I retired because my eyesight isn't what it used to be, and so somewhere in there, I picked up colored pencils and decided, oh, I need to do something different. And I enjoyed painting, but I never felt like I was in control enough of it. And so when I picked up colored pencils and found out, wow, this is amazing to me, I can have absolute control over everything like I do with a graphite pencil, and yet I get to have color in it. So that's kind of where a lot of this comes from. I absolutely love color, and as I said, a lot of this comes from this background of following children's books and following the illustrators behind children's books. So
wonderful. We got another piece here.
this is the
Digital.
digital. Yeah, this comes from. So a lot of these pieces were actually started as drawings to begin with. So there is a hard copy. So there's a drawing of it on paper, and then I photograph it and then pop it into a digital, and then I start adding layers. So it's many layers deep. There's a layer of pencil or colored pencil. The winter water one is actually a full-fledged colored pencil drawing that I photographed and then went back in and digitally worked in some of the other parts of it. The other to the left of that is the piece one with the gymnastics, and that's actually from a coloring book. I like the figures so much that I made a couple of other designs with it, and then popped it again into a digital format and reworked a lot of it. So, and all of these were started um, as a different in a different medium. The Spring Fairy is actually a photograph that has been completely revamped into that image. And it's a strange little photograph. It's a photograph of a little plastic model figure that I photographed and then enhanced and painted and reworked. And so these are some of like I said, this is some of the newer work that I've been doing. Working in this combination of things that I love to do. And I love working in pencil. I love working in photographs. And so with digital, I actually get to combine all of that, and makes me very happy. And I hope it makes other people happy when they see it too.
Yeah, let's look at another piece here.
This I wanted to show so you could see what I was talking about when I say I start with an actual drawing. This is a rough sketch in my sketchbook on the left there. And I liked that rough sketch so much that again I thought, well, I'm gonna photograph it and then enhance it and see what I can come up with. And that was the final image is what I have on the right there. And that's actually a digital image. I've had prints made up of it. And I think as I said, I love this combination. It gives me a looser feel to my work at this point. So I think the development is fun actually, and it also gives me more options on how to print it and what to actually print it out as. I've done a few of my images. I've actually printed them on blankets, or I've had them printed on pillows or coffee cups. In fact, I can show you a coffee cup right here. This is the image of my bowfly.
Ah, nice. Good
So
for you.
yeah, and I think they're fun. It kind of gives it a practical view or a practical use as well, because not everybody has wall space.
Hmm. That's right. And you're working multimedia is what you're doing with the
Yes,
colored pencil,
yes.
then bringing it in, and the contrast in your work and your digital work, it really shows your history with black and white photography too, because in
Thank
black
you.
the value the value in that, in creating something with black and white photography is really important. I think a lot of people too with colored pencil and those pieces miss those value changes, but that
And I
experience is.
would say, if I would recommend to any artist out there, I would actually say take a black and white photo class. I
Mm,
mean, even if it's just even not just, but even if it's a course from, say, like downtown Paramount or something like that, or, through some other method, if you don't want to go to a university and take a course there, I think that it really makes a difference for my drawing because I see everything in values of light, which comes from my photo background. And so when I work in pencil or colored pencil now, I see those values. I can pop in the color and it can be very whimsical and very fantastical. But I do see those values in there, and I try to create that. I try to get my work to look as three-dimensional as possible in a
hmm.
fun sort of lighthearted manner, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely it does. Absolutely. Let's look at another piece here.
Yeah, and this was a full-fledged actual graphite drawing. It's a finished drawing. But I thought, I'm intrigued by this color and I'm intrigued by what I can do with that. And so I again, went in, enhanced it, and that this is the result of that, of working that. So I'm doing this a lot more. I'm going back into some of my old work and looking at it and going, well, what can I do to change it? It freshens it up in my mind, and it just adds another layer to my work, I guess. That's what it comes down to.
Hmm. Absolutely. And I like that you're sharing, side by side with us too. We're able to see just the growth in artists also, like how we could start and then grow in other ways too.
Right.
Hmm.
Well, I could have sat down and explained this whole thing, but I thought, no, it would be better if I actually showed the differences between these things.
Hmm.
And I don't just stick with drawing either. As you can probably see with the next couple of images, I work with photographs as well because I do have a photo background.
Hmm.
This is from an ongoing series that I've done for years since we've lived in the house that we live in. It's called, the series is called Our House. And this is um, from my, I guess you'd call it sculpture garden area.
Hmm.
And so I have a whole sequence of photographs that have been taken of the house and of the gardens and of the work that we've put into it, and it's a beautiful place. And so I decided, well, since I've been doing this with my drawings and my other work, I thought, oh, I'm going to pop in some of these photographs that I did of the house and recreate and add some whimsy to it because I like whimsy. I think everyone should have that in their life.
Hmm.
And so, and this is the result of one of those images that I did. I think it makes it brighter, it makes it more colorful, um, and it just gives you that magical feel. And I want people to get that from this series because I believe I live in a very magical place. So
Mm, I love that. Our home should feel like that, right? That's wonderful.
exactly. And that's well, and this of course is, again, it's one of those magical things. It's my lovely cat laying on the steps, and I thought, oh, wouldn't she look good just being a universal, the cat's meow.
Yeah.
So that's what came up with that one. So as I said, it isn't just that I'm strictly working in black and or not in black and white, but I'm strictly working in a drawing. I'm also working and reworking photographs to give more digital this digital imaging. I just think the combination allows me to create images that that I can't quite get with my drawings and I can't quite get with my photographs. So if I combine this all together, I figure I'll finally get to the images that I really, really see in my own head.
Hmm. Well, it's nice we have the technology to keep working them and doing
And
that too.
that's, that has been part of it too. So this is another series that I have actually been working on for several years. This is a childhood, this is an autobiography actually, and it's called The Eyes of a Child. So this series, currently, at this time, there's 10 pieces in this series. I only, show 4 here. But I wanted to show this because this is an ongoing series. This is one that I hope to, at some future date, possibly put into book format or even as just its own website page or something along those lines. Because there are stories that actually go along, stories and little poems and things like that, or that help to describe these images. So, the self-portrait one, I think that's just, a given right there. Although the self-portrait, that dress that I'm wearing in that was hand sewn by my mom.
Oh.
So it's based on that. The next one is I grew up in the Palace of Appliances, and I did not label these because they're very long titles on them. But the next one is Palace of Appliances because I also grew up in a salvage yard, and that's the kind of playground I had, was in appliances. So so as you can see, these were influencing factors in my childhood and influencing ideas. And so some of these images just kind of stuck. The treehouse was built by my brother, and it was the most fantastic place to escape from everyone and go hide and read books. And yes, we actually had tire swings out there.
Hmm.
um, the Wizard of Oz piece, the reference to Wizard of Oz, was at the time, the first time I ever saw that was shortly after getting glasses. And up till that point, I really had a very difficult time seeing. It was about when I was in first grade, and that was about the time that I first ever saw The Wizard of Oz. And that movie stuck with me so much that I actually went to the library and got the whole series of books at that time and read every book there was. So it had a big impact on my life, and I think part of that was all the color and all the story behind it, the childhood story behind it, and all of that. So anyway, as I said, that's an ongoing series that I'm still working on.
Would
But I thought it might be fun to see.
would you say this is a dream project? Something that you're
I would say so because I think it's going to be a long project, actually.
hmm hmm I think those stories are really neat, like to grow up in would you say salvage or
Salvage yard or junkyard, if you will.
right.
There's a drawing of our junkyard dog in the series too. So if
Hmm.
you go to my website, you'll see that.
Hmm. Could see that as a dream project. Are there other dream projects for you?
I would say I I I don't know if they're dream projects, but I do work. I've done some work. They're called cadoodles, and I think there's an image of one
Oh,
of those too. Yeah,
yeah.
where I actually do an outline, a line drawing, and that would be that one.
Okay.
And you can see it starts with a line drawing, and I did this as a Christmas card many, many years ago. I started off doing this because I wanted to send out Christmas cards and I wanted to send out something original, but I couldn't do an original piece for every single person I sent it out to. So I actually designed a colorable page, and then after that, I colored each card in separately. The last image there is actually a digital colorization of the page. So this again too. These are ongoing. I do these all the time. I've actually done some work in a coloring book page
Hmm.
um, for the Lake George Neighborhood
Oh, sure.
Association.
Hmm.
They had a coloring book a couple of years ago, and I have several pages that I produced for that. Those last two images were commissions that I had done, and they're absolutely wonderful commissions. I love doing pet portraits, especially in graphite. And the other one was just a fun commission, and those are the ones that I accept.
Hmm.
Are just, give me an image, tell me what you want, and I will actually draw that for you. So that's how that one came out too.
Wonderful. And people can reach out to you at your website link we have available and maybe request a commission, a fun one, it sounds
A
like.
fun one,
A fun
absolutely.
one.
If you like whimsy in your life, I'm your person.
That's right. Whimsy, yes, and childhood stories, like
And
those are,
childhood stories, yeah.
yeah, I would,
Or I like to say, if you want color in your life, just, commission me because I'll give you some color.
there you go. So contact Kat Patton for color. You can color in your life.
Exactly, exactly.
I love that. I love that. Is for closing here, is there anything else you want to share with our audience today or anything you'd like to close with?
I think I've shared a lot. I think I brought a little bit of color into everyone's life with this. And I just want to say I appreciate the Millstream people and I appreciate the Art Crawl people for actually doing this. I think this is a wonderful venue.
Thank you.
And I think it's going to be a wonderful event. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope everyone else is too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely. I'm so glad this has worked out and that our audience is able to meet you and hear about your work and hear the stories behind your work and that's a really important part of art too, is knowing those stories and
I actually think that's more important than a lot of other aspects to it. I think the stories behind it or why an artist creates things, it just it makes it's like another layer to the artwork. If you actually can talk to the artist and you hear the reasoning and the stories behind their artwork, I believe it actually adds another layer to it.
I agree. And lots of color in your stories and in your work, Kat. So
I'm a
thank you
very
so
colorful
much.
person.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much
much.
too. Uh,
Absolutely. Take care. Have a good day.
you too. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.